Joe Biden is this guy. He looks as evil as he is. So that guy looks like a cartoon evil guy.
Looks like Gargamel from the Smurfs is what he looks like.
Yeah, and he is. He's a murderous, mass murdering murderer.
He wants to turn those Smurfs into gold. Who is he? He sounds familiar.
His name is Elliott Abrams, and I've known about this guy since I was a kid, about what a maniac he is. Yes, what he was doing with the Contras in the 80s.
Oh, he's one of the Enterprise.
Yeah. So for once, it's not the smiley face of Ronald Reagan or Obama, but a guy who looks like what he is. It's the portrait of Dorian Gray's eyebrows, ladies and gentlemen.
He looks like Spider-Man's enemy, the Vulture, who is...
President Joe Biden on Monday quietly nominated Elliott Abrams to serve on a bipartisan diplomacy commission. This is last Monday. On a move that human rights advocates condemned as outrageous, given the longtime Republican officials. He's a Republican.
Wait, there is no deep state.
So his past as a defender of Latin American death squads and a cheerleader for murderous U.S. foreign policy interventions.
Wow, that's a long time ago. So he's been in government the whole time?
Most recently, Abrams served as the Trump administration's special envoy to Iran and Venezuela.
Well, you got to drain the swamp. Where are you going to drain it to?
During 2019 House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing, Representative Ilhan Omar grilled it. Oh, remember this? She grilled him on, this is great. She grilled him on his role in the Reagan administration's policy in El Salvador, whose U.S.-backed military carried out the largest massacre in modern Latin American history in 1981 in and around the village of El Mozote. Here we go.
Ms. Omar.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your testimonies. Mr. Adams, in 1991, you pleaded guilty to 2 counts of withholding information from Congress regarding your involvement in the Iran-Contra affair, for which you were later pardoned by President George H.W. Bush. I fail to understand why members of this committee or the American people should find any testimony that you give today to be truthful.
If I can respond to that.
It wasn't a question. That was not a question. That was I reserve the right to my time.
It is not right.
That was not a question.
Committee can attack
on February 8th,
who is not permitted to reply.
That was not a question. Thank you for your participation. On February 8th, 1982, you testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about U.S. policy in El Salvador. In that hearing, you dismissed as communist propaganda report about the massacre of El Mozote, in which more than 800 civilians, including children as young as 2 years old, were brutally murdered by U.S.-trained troops. During that massacre, some of those troops bragged about raping a 12-year-old girl before they killed them. Girls before they killed them. You later said that the U.S. policy in El Salvador was a fabulous achievement. Yes or no, do you still think so?
From the day that President Duarte was elected in a free election to this day, El Salvador has been a democracy. That's a fabulous achievement.
Yes or no, do you think that massacre was a fabulous achievement that happened under our watch?
That is a ridiculous question, and I
yes or no?
No.
I will take that as a yes.
I am not going to respond to that kind of personal attack, which is not a question.
Yes or no, would you support an armed faction within Venezuela that engages in war crimes, crimes against humanity or genocide, if you believe they were serving U.S. interest, as you did in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua?
I am not going to respond to that question. I'm sorry. I don't think this entire line of questioning is meant to be real questions, and so I will not reply.
Whether under your watch, a genocide will take place and you will look the other way because American interests were being upheld is a fair question, because the American people want to know that anytime we engage a country, that we think about what our actions could be and how we believe our values are being furthered. That is my question. Will you make sure that human rights are not violated and that we uphold international and human rights?
I suppose there is a question in there, and the answer is that the entire thrust of American policy in Venezuela is to support the Venezuelan people's effort to restore democracy to their country. That's our policy.
I don't think anybody disputes that. The question I had for you is that does the interest of the United States include protecting human rights and include protecting people against genocide?
That is always the position of the United States.
Thank you. I yield back my time.
Oh, by the way, these hearings mean nothing. Once again, just like the state.
Yeah, I know.
It's a great little. Is she new here or something? How do you think we got this great nation? First day in America? I think we should have a hearing and add up all of our massacre numbers over the years and see if we beat Hitler yet.
I think we did.
I feel like we did too.
I think we did.
Exceptionalism.
Abrams attempted to downplay the El Mozote massacre shortly after it occurred, telling the United States Senate that news reports of the gruesome killings were not credible and were being misused by anti-government forces.
Like a $100 Biden laptop, they're misusing it.
It's weird that he wasn't permitted, like she didn't let him respond.
Well, there's all things at play.
She cut him off, right? Because, like some of his victims who had their tongues cut out. Just kind of like that.
Oh, I don't think we would do that.
I wonder if they all had their boosters. Anyway.
We were just vaccinating them against communism. What's the big deal?
He said that their death toll would have been less if we had only been able to check their Facebook pages. So Abrams attempted to downplay. There you go. Raymond Bonner, a former, or do you say Boner, a former New York Times correspondent in El Salvador, wrote for The Atlantic in 2019 that the Reagan administration, with Abrams as point man, routinely defended the Salvadorian government in the face of evidence that its regular army and allied right-wing death squads were operating with impunity, killing peasants, students, union leaders, and anyone considered anti-government or pro-guerrilla.
Oh, well, you can't make an omelet, right? That's the thing they all say.
Abrams went so far as to defend one of the death squad's most notorious leaders, Robert D'Ambusinan. Who knows how to say that name?
I don't know, yeah.
Who was responsible for the murder of Archbishop Oscar Romero while he was saying Mass in March of 1980. No kidding. Wow.
I mean, you can't let him finish Mass first?
The Biden's White House predictably failed to mention the sordid details of Abrams' record in its nomination announcement, offering a sterilized biography that lists off the notorious figure's previous government roles. Assistant Secretary of State for International Organization Affairs. So who gives a fuck? I'm not going to read that.
I still believe America's a force for good in the world. Look at the world order. You hear about it a lot since World War II. Look how great everything is. You wouldn't want to ruin that, would you?
According to its website, the Advisory Commission on Public Diplomacy is tasked with appraising U.S. government activities intended to understand, inform, and influence foreign publics and to increase the understanding of and support for these same activities. Abrams must be confirmed by the United States Senate to serve on the commission.
He will serve on the commission. It's not up to them.
Yeah, I know.
What is everyone talking about?
Slate journalist Alex Salmon denounced Biden's nomination of Abrams for the position as obscene and unconscionable. Elliott Abrams, enemy of human rights, apologist for mass murder, should have no place within spitting distance of any Democratic administration in any capacity. This is the uniparty.
Yeah, no. Hey, Alex.
So this
Salmon.
guy does the bidding. He's our hegemon. He does the imperialism bidding of the corporations. He overthrows socialist governments so that corporations can steal their oil and other things. And that's what he does, it pretending that we're trying to bring democracy to people.
Hey, they're all proud of it. They're not like, the thing that's crazy is that she could have asked that question to him in a different way, and he'd have proudly talked about all of it.
I know.
She
You're
just
right.
asked it in a way like it's bad.
You're right.
And he's like, what is this? Is this a joke? I've been doing this for years.
Here he is in a 2011 speech. He's boasting of his time inside the Reagan administration, waging wars of aggression all over the world. Watch this.
In 1983, the United States invaded Grenada, unseated the leftist government. In Nicaragua, he backed the so-called Contras, the anti-Sandinista rebels, in a civil war that tied their hands. Next door was El Salvador, where it really looked like another communist victory was imminent. When I entered the Reagan administration in 1980, Nicaragua had been lost. Our main concern at that moment was, are we going to lose another domino?
Or are we going to put
El
crack
Salvador
in black
going
people
to go
neighborhoods?
Under communist control? So
these people, what he's saying is it's up to the United States to determine what kind of government other people get to have.
You have to understand how dangerous it is, Jimmy. They almost had a system that has never worked. So of course we need to put everything.
So if they have these, so they would throw over these countries that they weren't capitalists, right? That's what this is about. So every war is a racket, and everything he did was for capitalism.
They're not all
he didn't do it to
communists.
bring he didn't do it to bring democracy to El Salvador or Nicaragua or anywhere. He did this so that capitalists could extract wealth from those countries. That's what this is about. Because the socialists, the Marxist governments, they share the wealth with their people. They build homes for them. They give them literacy. And then they take the oil money and they share it with their people. And they don't want that. They can't have that, right? And the Shell Oil and BP has got to get their mitts on that oil. And that's what this is about.
It's not just if they had their own capitalism, these countries that was just competing with our corporations, we'll say they're socialists, even if they're, saying these are socialists. We've overthrown the term banana republic is overthrowing somebody that wasn't even that socialist. They just said, hey, your company from your country can't just take everything we have. That's communism.
So what he's doing here is he's bragging about the United States deciding that what kind of government a South American country gets to have. They get to decide. Not
sovereign nation?
Not the people of the country. The fucking guys like this decide. Okay.
Well, we need to make sure they're in order in case a crazy person like Putin invades a sovereign nation.
And so what guys like this do is they take billions of dollars from the CIA's coffers and they give it to people to start militias and they start civil wars. That's what they do.
Hey, remember Al Qaeda? Remember Rambo 3 when we created that?
That's right.
Organized aid for the Salvadoran military and the Christian Democratic Party, stopped the communist rebels, the FMLN. In Afghanistan, he supplied anti-Soviet rebels with arms.
This is it.
And in the end, the Russians suffered.
So we invented the Mujahideen. We invented Al Qaeda, and that's what he's bragging about right here.
We did gain of function research on Islam. And gave it extra functions.
15,000 killed.
Oh.
And near the heart of the Soviet Empire was Poland. Reagan acted to help the Solidarity movement survive and ultimately prevail. Reagan began the secret funding of Solidarity, working with the AFL-CIO under George Meany, working with the Vatican.
Oh my God.
Under a Polish Pope. So Reagan used American power and influence to stop the Soviet juggernaut. Reagan used intelligence assets when he could, CIA. He strengthened our broadcasting, Voice of America, Radio Free Europe used that. He used proxy forces like the Nicaraguan Contras whenever possible rather than American soldiers. But the outcome was clear. In sheer military terms, he turned things around.
And now our lives are a nightmare.
Look how great everything
Boy,
is.
who would think such a handsome man would say such ugly things?
And not only are these demons not rotting in jail, they're always angling for a promotion, and he just got one.
Again, these aren't lizard people. This is what people are.
This is what people are. It's the 4th of July, and Joe Biden's White House is celebrating by reviving one of the most detestable ghouls from the United States anti-communist crusades in Central America.
You know what's funny? If you just saw a picture of him and you had to guess his name, I would say it was D, initial D, testable ghoul.
The U.S. is basically like if your local Ford dealership was a black site. That's basically... Glenn Greenwald says, in the pantheon of neocon monsters and sociopaths, Elliott Abrams resides in the top tier, supporting death squads, criminal concealing evidence, cheerleading every war from a safe distance. It's also completely unsurprising that Biden chose him for this position. Jesus Christ. Biden nominating criminal neocon Elliott Abrams to any position whatsoever is as inexcusable and unforgivable. Even the biggest Biden simps in America should be denouncing this based on their own values and their own hatred of the Trump administration.
Oh, no, he's one of the good ones. You know, because in the state, he's like deep in it. I don't know what the term is for that.
What is the term? Missed in the furor over Biden's odious Elliott Abrams nomination, Biden nomination of Jamie Fly, a fellow neocon GOP operative who presided over the discredited Hamilton 68 Russian bots PSYOP and who lobbied for war on Iran at Bill Kristol's.
Oh, another great man. There's no deep state, Jimmy. Stop it.
Wow.
Yeah, the same people that are there since all the other disasters. Imagine giving a speech and you're proud of helping with the nightmare that created 9/11.
Yep.
And then 20 years of... And you're bringing up Grenada, the one that we won.
Hamilton 68 blue-red founding team of Jamie Fly and Laura Rosenberger told Politico they couldn't reveal the dashboard accounts because the Russians will simply shut them down. The real reason? It was all bullshit.
That sounds like...
And this is the guy, he just got promoted. He's being nominated for a member of the International Broadcasting Advisory Board.
Does anybody get the game yet that like it's all these people you never heard of or you barely heard of, but Max knows who they are? That's right. Where the action happens. And then you watch Ilhan Omar, fake question, a fake thing.
Yes. Jamie Fly, a former advisor to the George W. Bush administration, served as executive director of the Foreign Policy Initiative during 2009 to 2013 and was blogger for the Weekly Standard. Both bastions of Beltway neoconservative advocacy. Fly's experience includes serving in the National Security Council, oh my God, and the Defense Department during the Bush presidency, stints at the Claremont Institute and the American Enterprise Institute, and working as a research associate at the council. So this is the Uniparty.
So what you're saying is he definitely knows about alien stuff.
So this is the Uniparty, Kurt. This is the Uniparty.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. And Trump didn't go along with this as much as they wanted him to. He did.
Appointed these animals.
He put these animals in there
from
too.
draining the swamp.
Trump put in the worst. He put in the worst guy.
He drained the swamp and found his cabinet. That's exactly what
that was
did.
that joke. Yes, that was my joke.
Yeah, it's great.
But he put in, what was the guy? John Bolton. So Trump, I don't know.
Omarosa was one of the least evil people he ever hired.
No kidding. No kidding. So, yeah, Trump is, yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I hope he's learned his lesson now.
So that's, yeah. Trump did a lot of the bidding of the deep state, but
you know, I have to say,
but not all of it.
I don't want him to. I never liked him, but I'll bet you he's built character since this process because I was now, and you know, right now, I know somebody's going to be like, how could you say that? But I remember being at his roast, warming up the roast of the Comedy Central thing. And the reason I always didn't like him was because he didn't take a joke. He was well known for that. That's why Bill Maher's got a personal thing because he tried to sue him for saying his dad was an orangutan or whatever. Remember, he actually literally tried to sue him. So I didn't respect him because of that. And then around the time when they decided all comedians have to have the dignity of running for president, but Trump can say whatever he wants, you know, because we're setting him up for Hillary to be for this kayfabe. Then all of a sudden he could say all the edgy material, just him, no comedians, just Trump.
Really?
I watch it. You watch it happen, and all the people on TV stop being funny, and all the when he said about Elizabeth Warren, I guess I can't call her Pocahontas anymore after she got that test. He was making all the jokes. They should have been. That's when Clown World. Maybe you've heard of it.
I didn't watch his roast, so I don't know any of this.
No, they didn't say it's at the roast. At the roast, he was like, whatever. I don't know why he did it. The only rule he had for making fun of him was you couldn't say he was less. You say whatever you want about him, except he's not as rich as he says he is.
Yeah, you can't make fun of how much money he's claimed to be worth.
I'm sure he blundered in there. Had have no idea what he's thinking. He's going to deal with it like one of his companies. You're a loser and whatever. You don't talk that way to this ghoul. Tell him he's a loser. They're going to get you out. I'll bet you he figured that out, and you can see some character growth on a guy who had none.
Well, he's the one. He knew that Russiagate was always fake all along, and so he watched how they did it. He watched the collusion of the media and the FBI and the Democratic Party and the CIA. He saw how it all this is how this all works.
Hey, did you see how Juan Guaido, the true prince?
And then he tried to pull Juan Guaido shit himself. So he's Hey,
remember Nancy Pelosi didn't tear that part of the speech up. That's why they all stood up and gave applause to the true ruler of Venezuela, Juan Guaido, who lives there now and only gets attacked by normal people on the street.
By the way, unsurprising, Fly is the latest supporter of our latest intervention. Of course, he supports the Ukraine war.
Oh, he sees why this is a better. Hey, got any of those Operation Paperclip guys? I hope they're still kicking around to help contribute. No, the Nazis can be useful because communism is bad.
Come see our live shows. We're going to be in Chicago, Rosemont, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, New York City, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Stamford, Toronto, Toledo, Detroit, St. Louis, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets.